everyone. Hello, hello. Oh, God. That's not supposed to happen. Why is the doggo camera glitching? It might still be too hot. I think it might be too hot for the dog camera. All right, I'm gonna have to... Freaky, okay. I don't want to disturb anyone with a weird pet camera, so we'll just turn that off, I guess. Darn it, I don't know what. I don't remember that being quite... It's done it before, but not that bad. But you can technically see her right there. What are you doing, baby? What are you doing? Looking around for something. Definitely very paranormal. More like Paranorman. Am I right? Hello, welcome. Okay, so it's been a minute since I've streamed. It was my birthday last weekend, July 5th. Last Friday, actually. And then it was 4th of July before that. And then I lost my voice because of you can kind of hear it a little bit probably still. Maybe not because of my vocal filters on this, but my voice was greatly harmed by the very poor air quality over the 4th. So I had to just let my voice rest for a little bit, but we're back. We're here. My voice is more or less normal. Can we see your doggo on camera? Well, she was on camera briefly. I normally have a camera set up for her, but it was like, here, I'll show you. Maybe we'll just turn it on again. Maybe we'll just connect it and reconnect it, and maybe that'll fix it. I was like a little hopeful that might actually help, but no, not that lucky. So normally she'd be on camera, but I don't know what's going on with the camera right now, so we're just gonna not have that on. Yes, that is Bandita. She comes back. Aw, you're so cute, honey. You want to come say hello? Probably come say hello at the end of the stream. Right now, she's doing her own thing. She's being very sweet. But anyways, I'm gonna let's get the chat connected. Let's do that. It says we're offline. That doesn't make sense. All right, we should be connected now. I'll see if that... Okay, great. The chat is now fully connected to the stream. But anyways, it's been a minute since I've had a stream. So, hello, welcome everyone. These are our Friday night live streams where more or less every Friday at 6 o'clock, I do a little stream for 2 hours, and we have a little Q&A session about news stuff, pop culture stuff, kink, BDSM, relationships, dating, polyamory, queer stuff, asexuality, kind of anything in that general wheelhouse. I know that there has been so much going on online. I feel like I'm constantly learning about new things all the time that are happening, and I don't know, weird takes about HIV medication and the Project 2025 and Etsy banning adult content, and just but Tumblr bringing back adult content. What's happening? What's happening online? Do we know? I don't think we know. Oh my gosh, thank you, Twixie. Happy birthday and channel anniversary. Yes, so it was my birthday, and also was my 9th channel anniversary. I made my YouTube channel on my birthday in 2015. I don't think I posted my first video until quite a while after that, but that's when I actually made the account. Actually, you should see. I don't know if it'll tell me exactly the exact day. Well, I probably will, actually. I think my first video I ever uploaded is still on YouTube. Can I sort by date? Yes, I published my first video in September. So I had an account open for like 2 months, almost exactly 2 months before I posted a video. So yeah, wasn't my anniversary of like 10 years or 9 years of content is in September, but for right now it's July. But thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was the big 3-0. I'm now officially 30. According to the world, I am an old hag, and I have no value anymore because dried up roast beef, old maid, something, I don't know, something along those lines. I think I think I'm just supposed to go buy my casket. I think that's what I'm supposed to do. I think I'm just supposed to go reserve my casket because I'm a woman and I'm 30. But no, seriously, I've been very blessed in my life. I have many friends who are in their 30s, even in their 40s now. And pretty much all of them universally have told me that their 30s were better than their 20s and to not worry about it. So I'm like, I don't know. I feel two ways about it. Like there is that, I don't know if maybe other people have experienced this upon turning 30. It both, like, everyone tells me that it's great and I believe them, but I also can't help but a little bit buy into the, like, well, now people aren't going to treat me. Like, there's a very narrow window of acceptability as, like, a woman on the internet. Like, you can't be, like, 18 to 22 because you're too young. And then if you get past, like, 23 to, like, 28, now you're, like, too old. Like, you know. It's like, oh, there was a narrow window of a couple of years there where more people took my advice seriously, but now they're not because I'm going to be too old. But yeah, that's the mental dilemma. I honestly don't really feel any particular way about it, but it's the cultural messaging around turning 30 is something. I know it's still so young. Time for them AARP benefits. Yeah, for real. Where's my letter from AARP? I need to go check my mailbox. I haven't done that. Meanwhile, me at 39. I know. It's like anytime I've ever talked about my age, everyone's like, you're so young. Don't worry about it. Like I was at a party a while ago and it was for somebody's birthday. So we were talking about like, oh, how old are you turning? Whatever. And like people didn't know how old I was. And at the time I was still 29. So I said that. And they were like, oh my God, you're still a baby. And I'm like, okay. Because everyone there was in like their mid-30s. So it's a big difference. But yeah, I thought that was funny. Always impressed how much wiser you are than I was at your age or even now. I mean, wisdom's relative, I guess. Like I've definitely done things that are unwise and will continue to do so. But I'm lucky in that I find reading books and learning to be extremely interesting and rewarding, so it's easy for me to do that, whereas not everyone is as internally rewarded by such things, and so they are more of a guess and check maybe way of approaching existence, and that has different benefits and different consequences. Okay, so before I get too far into it, let's go ahead and just kind of cover some basics here. So this is an 18 plus only stream. Please do not be here unless you're at least 18. Okay, I know there's been some discourse recently about like minors engaging in non-sexual kinks. And if you are for some reason listening to this right now and you're like 16, 17, whatever, you think you're into kink or anything like that, okay, that's great. You can be curious about that stuff. You can want to know more. Please do not participate in the chat. That's for everyone's safety and yours. Come back when you're 18. It'll be great. It'll be fine. I promise. And yeah, just read the rules. Listen to the mods. There is an FAQ down below if you want to have links to resources for commonly asked questions like what books I recommend or movies or how to tell your partner you're into kink or anything like that. We just have it linked down below. But generally speaking, this is a Q&A. Obviously, this time around, I don't really have like a theme or a topic per se in the title of the live stream, so it's kind of just whatever y'all want, which it pretty much always is. And I answer questions in the order they come in, so I recommend asking early and often if you'd like to have your question. Well, often, I mean like come to the stream often. Do not spam the chat repeatedly with the same question over and over again, because you will just be muted and then I will not answer your question. But be polite. Use your big, beautiful brain to be like, am I spamming right now? I think I probably am. I should stop. Okay. I give people, if I don't lose track of time, answer your question at least, I will try to give people like a 10 or 15-minute warning before we end the stream. So in case I miss something, because YouTube chat does sometimes like scrolls for too long and I'll end up missing questions from earlier in the stream that way. But typically speaking, I go in order. We answer as many as we can. I give people sort of a last-minute opportunity to ask again in case I miss something, and that's sort of more or less how everything goes. $18 is fine. Yeah, if you're 18, that's fine. If you're 16, that's not fine. The age of majority is like different in different places, but based on the law where I live, it's 18. So we go off of that. That's where that rule comes from. And I appreciate you cooperating and listening to that because, well, you don't really have a choice. You have to listen to me. I'm the boss. That's how that works. Anyways, okay, let's see. Happy birthday, Evie. Mine was last week as well, and I'm a lefty. Me too, I'm also left-handed. And congratulations on your 9th year. I know it's so... I mean, I remember like listening to YouTubers talk about making videos for like 6 years and being like, wow, they've been on YouTube forever. And now I've been on YouTube for almost 10 years. That's like, to me, it feels like 5 years. Like, it feels like I've been making videos for a bit, but it feels like 5 years, not like almost 10. Given, you know, I have pretty much made videos continually that entire time. Some, like, the first year or so I made videos was less so. Like, I made videos for a couple months or a couple weeks, and then I took a break for a while, and then I came back. So my first year was not really that regular content-wise, but after that, I actually started posting videos, like, pretty regularly, and it eventually went from just being a hobby to something I did full time. And it's like, I feel like I do think if I would have gotten into doing YouTube, although I would not have been old enough to do it at the time, if I could have gotten into making YouTube videos like 4 years earlier, I feel like that would have been the sweet spot, because that was when like Lacey Green was making videos and Stevie Bobby and like, was it T and Chrissy? What are their names? There were like a bunch of people that made like sex or like sex adjacent content that, like, especially by today's standards on YouTube, was like incredibly salacious, super clickbaity, you know, like lesbian kisses a man for the first time, 10 million views, gets blasted out to the front page, everyone watches it, it goes viral. Like, that's not a thing that happens anymore. Like, the front page of YouTube is like Minecraft, Roblox videos, and like, I don't know, John Oliver clips, basically. No hate to John Oliver. Like, that's, of all the late night people, he's probably the one I'd be the most okay with being on the front page of YouTube. But that was very much a window that I missed out on. But I think if I was starting a channel now, it would be so different. I mean, honestly, like, usually my advice for people, if they want to make content, like, YouTube is great, and there's definitely, especially for making content about polyamory and kink and, like, queer issues in general of any kind. Not that kink and queer are necessarily synonymous, but, like, that kind of vein of niche content, if they can be lumped together. Like, there's definitely a lot of room on YouTube to make that kind of content, but honestly, like, probably TikTok or, like, we don't really make money on TikTok, so, yeah, I don't know. Maybe YouTube is still where it's at. I'm not sure. Okay, the view, I don't know what's happening with YouTube. I feel like YouTube's been having issues today. I feel like everything keeps, like, bouncing up and down like crazy. I don't know what's going on. What do you think of Gretchen Whitmer? She's my wife. Well, I wish she was my wife. Big Gretch. I mean, I don't really know anything about Big Gretch other than calling her Big Gretch. But she's probably okay. I don't know. Like on a personal attractiveness level, I'm asexual, so I don't have strong opinions about that either way. Could maybe she's nice. I don't know. Honestly, I haven't really seen a lot from her. No strong opinions there. I've been binging old videos. That's a great way to do it. Oh, actually, I feel like I always expect to cringe more at my old videos than I actually do. Like, if anything, I cringe about maybe the video quality itself, like maybe the audio quality, or like, the cuts of it or like something being off that I would do differently now. But the actual educational advice I given them, for the most part, has like been surprisingly solid for the fact I filmed it like 8 years ago. I'm like, wait, but I'm like right about that though. Like, how did I know about that already? Like, I was cooking there. I knew what was up about like switches being valid or like whatever, even though that was not maybe part of the discourse as much as, you know, it's been over the last couple of years. But yeah, I've been more like, I get the usual YouTuber urge to be like, I want to burn my back catalog in a fire. I want to make it so nobody can see anything that I made that was older than like 6 months ago. Like anything. And even then I'm like, I mean, really the last like 2 months, maybe. Let's do everything before the last 2 or 3 months, delete it entirely. I will not actually do that. I think it's, especially archiving stuff is difficult, and a lot of other websites are not making it easy to archive stuff. So I don't have any plans. Don't worry, I don't have any plans for like actually deleting my back catalog. But sometimes I'm like, I guess, like I found earlier today when I was putting together links for a video I published, I looked at my old video on queer platonic relationships, and it's 5 years old. And I'm like, I need to redo that. That's 5 years old. I can't just have that be the only version of it. Also, random, I just noticed I'm finally, this is what my goal has been, is to be able to do this with my hair, where I can tuck my bangs back and have a little piece in front of it like this. My hair's finally long enough. I've achieved it. Goal unlocked. Success obtained. Happy birthday, Evie. Hope you have an amazing birthday. I did, thank you. And congratulations on your 9-year anniversary. Proud of your work and hope you continue teaching people. Oh, it's Black Skies. Hello. Well, thank you for stopping by. I have not seen you in a minute. Hope you are doing well. Thank you, thank you. Happy birthday. Thank you. Hope you all have had a good week. My week, honestly, I've been writing a lot. I'm going to actually go back probably after the stream tonight and like put some finishing touches on a script I was working on yesterday that I think I finished more or less. But I put together 3 video scripts. It's 11,000 words. I feel very proud. I feel like I took a little bit of a break from writing because I was trying to catch up on editing videos, and it's been very nice to go back to writing, but I definitely mentally need a break. So I go ahead, I'll put this in the chat now if I can. I'm thinking about it. I know I asked people for, and also if you haven't heard this, so I'm looking for recommendations for light and fun topics that I can do on my channel, like preferably something I haven't talked about before that I could cover in like under 20 minutes. And several people recommended like kinky TikTok videos, which I've done before, but it was more of like, it wasn't just like ones that were fun. It was like seriously evaluating all of the top most popular like kink TikToks on Kink Talk. I'm going to redo or do that one again, but I created a Google form where now you can, oh gosh, that link is so long. Do I have a shorter version of this? I think this will turn it into a Twitter link because I'm copying this from Twitter. It does, but that's fine. I'm just going to put it in there. But I have a link to a Google form where you can submit links to your favorite kinky TikToks, YouTube shorts, or Instagram reels. If you want to put those in there, or just give me the name of your favorite creator, and I will also just look at their videos and we'll do that. You can also share part 2 of this. If you have a fun, awkward, heartwarming, embarrassing story to share about your kinky life, like you met somebody from FetLife on a first date and like it went really wrong and it was crazy and this was what happened, or you went to a dungeon and like something wild happened, or you had a scene and it went like embarrassingly wrong because of whatever reason. Like it's just about sharing stories that happened to you, and then I'll read them and react to them and like probably give some advice because I can't help myself. People tell me things, I give advice. I'm working on it, but in this context, like I don't really give people unasked for advice in real life, but like with YouTube stuff, I will just default as a response to getting into like, in a scenario like this is what you should do. It tends to be how I go through things, I've realized. But that is a link you can follow and you can go to, and you can submit stories and links if you want. And that'll be as I alternate between stories of maybe not so great things happening online recently for the kink community. I will alternate between that and these more lighthearted topics. So if you have any other lighthearted topics you want to see, also feel free to share. I just literally today left a 5+ year old marriage/relationship, which wasn't good for me anymore. I'm proud I did it, but do you have any tips for helping the random moments of pain? Oh, yes. Okay. So the thing that has really helped me when I've like tried to process relationships ending, especially like very long-term ones that were like impactful and like, I mean, I've never left a marriage, so I haven't had to go through a divorce. So that's a whole other can of worms. But when I have left long-term relationships, they're really important to me. I think something that's really helped me is like reminding my brain that this is a grieving process. Like it's not just like, ooh, I'm like sad for a little bit. Like it's like you are grieving the loss of something that was really important to you, and it's important to honor that and recognize that that's like the process for what's happening. And I think for me, if I'm experiencing like intense feelings after a relationship ending, I try to identify what they are first, because we can kind of think big picture about like, ooh, I feel sad, I feel angry, whatever kind of emotional label we're putting on it. And then we got to go a level deeper than that and kind of evaluate what's going on there. Because it's like, well, I'm sad, but is it like I'm sad because I like really miss them and they were like my best friend? Is it I'm sad because I am like mourning the loss of a life I thought I would have with them that's no longer possible? Am I sad because this doesn't match the picture I had for my own goals and dreams for my life at like that age or that milestone? Am I sad because I feel really lonely and I realize now that they're gone, I don't really have a big social network? Like kind of dig down into like, okay, what's the emotion we're dealing with? And then like what's like really happening underneath that to kind of cause that feeling to come up of sadness. And then I think one is just like giving yourself permission to feel that way. I think we tell people that like the best way to deal with a breakup, like to win at having a breakup, is to like get over it as fast as possible. And like if it takes you a while to heal from it, that means that you like lost if the other person like moves on more quickly than you. And like if you feel sadder than for longer, that means you like lost at the breakup. And I feel like that's a really weird mentality because all of our brains are different. And like I've been through breakups that took me like 6+ months to get over. I've been through even like ones that I initiated where like I broke up with the person. It's taken me a long time sometimes to get through it. But I've also had relationships where like a breakup was mutual, even when they broke up with me, that I like would get over it very quickly. And I was just like, okay, actually, you know what? Now that we've broken up and I've had a moment to reflect, it was a good decision to break up and I am happy to be done with it. And then it's just, you know, cake and sparklers and celebration, yay, it's over. But it really depends. Like it can be so different, and it's not always a linear course for sure. There's going to be times and days that are going to be more intense when you're coming up against like anniversaries or birthdays or things you would maybe traditionally do with a partner that you're now doing on your own. I think it's important to be like mentally and like physically prepared for that happening. If you're coming up on like, you know, this would have been our 6-year anniversary, or this would have been, you know, it's my birthday and I'm not celebrating it with them, but normally I would, or I have for the last couple of years. And then just like, you know, I think the advice that I normally get has been like to build up doing like positive things for yourself, like make it rewarding to be in this new experience of like being single. Like I really like going out and doing things that maybe with a partner I didn't always make time for, or I didn't really go to because like if I was going to go, it would have been with my partner, but maybe they didn't really like it, and so I just would skip out on it. Like maybe that means like, I don't know, going to a drag show, or going to brunch, or going to a farmer's market, or going to the beach, or taking yourself on like a little, like a staycation type thing. Like doing things that are fun. Don't even have to necessarily be expensive things. Like you can go to the beach for free, like in most places, and just like enjoying being there even when you're by yourself. And I think for a lot of people, it can be very uncomfortable to be alone and to not have anyone with them. And like, even though I have partners, a lot of my partners are very, they're like preoccupied a lot. Like a lot of my partners are, their time is very in demand. They're doing things a lot. And so when I maybe want to do something, I might not have someone who's like available to go with me somewhere. So I just like go and do stuff on my own. Like I go to a farmer's market. I go to the park with my dog. I go to like the spa. I take myself to the spa. I go to like a restaurant and like get cake and like, you know, drink tea outside. Like I don't have to have a partner or a date to go and do that. And I feel like for some people it's like really awkward and uncomfortable to be that solo person who's doing things alone and not having a partner with you. But I think actually it can be really fun. You know what's great is getting to have a day that's just your day. And you get to do whatever you want. You get to spend, it's actually kind of a relief to go and do something by yourself without having to manage anybody else's emotions or preferences literally at all. You can leave exactly when you want. You can get lunch exactly when you want. You can stay at every place for exactly as long as you want. You don't have to worry about like, oh, how much money they have? How much time do they have? You know, do they have other obligations? Do they need to go back to work? Do they need to, blah, blah, blah. Like, you just get to do whatever you want. You don't have to manage anyone else. And that actually can be really fun, even if, I guess, for some reason socially we like judge people for doing activities solo and like treat it as like implicitly better to like go and do things with people. Like you can go to like a Ren fair and have a great time by yourself. You don't have to have a partner. Or even like an amusement park, or like I feel like a restaurant. Like I don't get any pleasure out of going to restaurants, so that's not really on the list for me. But even like going to a restaurant solo and just like, I don't know, being a fancy European lady, you know, having a latte by herself outside, you know, while she reads a book, I feel like that's very fun. Like that could be a fun thing. Yeah. It's definitely a process though, and I think especially because it literally just happens, like you're at day one of like whatever this process is gonna end up looking like. And I think, at least in my experience, I guess sort of proportional to how long the relationship is, every day it gets most likely a little bit better. I would say if it's gonna get worse, it'll peak at like day 3. And then, because it'll settle in that it's like real and it's not like a dream or anything. And then it'll slowly get better. And then like 2 weeks out, it'll be more manageable. And like a month out, it'll be more manageable. And it's okay to like miss the person. It's okay to like wish you could maintain contact. I don't know what your breakup looked like. If it was like we blocked each other everywhere and we're not talking to each other ever again. We broke all contact forever and there's no, like, that's just it. Other people, they like, I mean, I feel like most people struggle with doing this, but like some people do stay friends with their exes. Usually not when it's been such a long-term relationship. Like I've been in scenarios where like I've been dating someone for a while. Like we've gone on dates, maybe not like boyfriend-girlfriend status yet or anything like that, but we've like gone on dates. And then we get to like a couple dates in and we're like, well, we really get along. Like we're compatible, like emotionally, or we think the same ways about important issues or whatever. But we're not really feeling that other level of connection. So let's be friends, because like I like your company and you're fun to talk to, but we're not, maybe the kind of dynamic we're looking for in a partner is not there, but friendship is still there. So I've had that happen before, but usually not like 5 years in. So I think it can be really hard if you go like completely no contact with someone. And I haven't really done this, so I can't say how effective this is, but my idea would be to like, if you have something you want to say to the person you wish you could have said, is to just like type it all out, fucking print it out, okay, put it in a little letter, and then like burn it, throw it away, get rid of it. Like get the thoughts out there, kind of process them, because I think as you're going through the process of like writing what you want to say to the other person, that can actually help you give yourself closure, because you're getting to say those things that maybe you wish you would have said earlier. But it's difficult for sure. There's no, I just don't want you to set up any particular timeline for yourself, any sort of set expectations about what it should look like or what it's going to look like. It just is going to be what it is. And I think focusing on taking care of yourself and doing things to establish other social connections is really important. So, you know, getting good sleep, taking care of your hygiene, eating good food, you know, just taking it easy, you know, not necessarily like abandoning every important routine, but just like keep it easy. Don't set up any really high expectations for yourself, and maybe use this as an opportunity. Maybe instead of like looking for another romantic relationship right away, you could think about focusing, I don't know if you have like a big friend group, if you're close with your family, but revisiting those connections or finding new connections that are not romantic that you maybe didn't have as much when you were in a relationship. Because I think a lot of people are like relationship people, and that's fine because I'm a relationship person too, but it's, you want to have a social network that's not just like people you've dated. Like, that's not a recipe for success for most people. So it's beneficial to build up social networks that are friends and can support you through this, and that also you like, that are not based on romance. But that's, yeah, especially when you get farther into adulthood, like after the college years, it is like increasingly difficult to make and find friends. And that's something I've heard time and time again from people, is it's just really difficult to meet people and make friends as you get older. Like, either they're coworkers, or maybe they're somebody you meet that's like, you know, your boyfriend's friend's girlfriend, you know, like you kind of get out there a little bit. That's how you meet people. But it's a lot of people say they're lonely. A lot of people say they want to have more friends. I have not tried it yet. There is a version of a dating app called Bumble that you can use that's like for friendship. Like, it's meant to help you find friends. And I've not used that before. I've heard that be good for people. I've heard of people using it to find like people to go like rock climbing with, or to do like hobby activities with. Like, if somebody's like, you know, oh, I'm already partnered and I'm satisfied with that, but I want someone to go rock climbing with, you know. There we go. I'm trying to get back into the community as a solo poly, not solo play, kinkster now, and I'm really excited to get it back into it. Yeah. Oh yeah, solo poly is also really common in the kink community. Lots of people doing the solo poly thing for sure. Gonna have lots of company there. Honestly, solo poly is having a moment. People are big into the solo poly. I don't think it's the most popular kind of polyamory. I mean, honestly, the most popular in terms of the thing people want to do the most is still gonna be like triads and that. But like, I think in terms of like people that end up doing a style of polyamory long term, I feel like solo poly is like definitely up there. All right, that was not technically in order, but I saw that. I didn't realize it was going to end in a question, and then I saw it did, and then I was like, well, I'll answer it because I already read it. Congrats and happy birthday. Thank you. Hello, happy birthday. I'm coming up on my 20th. Ooh, congratulations. I've been silent until recently for good reason. Thank you for respecting the rules. Viewer for 4 years, and your voice has been critical in my understanding of myself. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Vic, and congrats on your birthday. 20 is such a great age, and I think that you'll have a great rest of your 20s, basically. I feel it. I just know it. Getting into hobby groups is a great way to meet other people, do fun stuff, and you'll meet like-minded people. Yes, yeah. Like, if you like knitting, if you like crochet, if you like hiking, if you like training for marathons, if you like rowing, like any hobby, basically. Pilates is like becoming popular again. That's what everyone's doing for workouts now, is Pilates. I've joined a Pilates group. Honestly, also, like, physical activity is good for your brain. I do, like, if you're like, oh, I don't even really have hobbies. Like, if you want to do a physical hobby, well, honestly, I think dance is really good. Don't do anything that's like a physical activity. When you're trying to feel better and boost your mood, don't do things that you don't think are fun. Don't punish yourself by forcing yourself to go on a 2-mile long jog. No. That's how you end up having a really unhealthy, negative relationship with physical exertion. I think that's where a lot of people end up at, is they end up hating moving their bodies and doing things that are tough, because like anytime they've had to do it before, it's been by force when they were a child, or the only kinds of things they know how to do are things they find unpleasant. But find something that's like movement, physical exertion that feels good to you. I really think dance is super fun. Like, there's so many different types of dance. You can do like ballet for adults. You can take hip hop classes. You can take belly dancing classes. You can take pole dancing classes. You can do fucking Zumba with your mom. Like, do whatever, you know? And I think, like, from what I've seen, there's a lot of data that says that dancing is really good for our brains, and it helps release nice, happy feeling chemicals. And I always feel really good after I dance. I feel like it's also good for like personal self-expression. You don't even have to take classes. You can like pop on a music video and like dance along to the music video, or like try to teach yourself how to do TikTok dances, or if you have like favorite TikToks and you're like, oh, I'm too embarrassed to dance, because like no one else is gonna see you because you're by your dang self, and it's okay, and that's how it is. And I think that like I think for me, it's kind of taps into like the primal part of my brain a little bit, because that's sort of that, like my main kink lens is like primal stuff. Like I think like I feel like a lot of people think it's cringe, but I do feel like modern dance and like intuitive movement is fun, and like who gives a shit if you're not following along to like, you know, 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1. Who cares? No, if ballroom dance is your thing, great. I don't. That's not me. I think any kind of movement is great. But it could also just be like going for a walk with your dog, or like walking on a treadmill and reading a magazine, or like reading some Twitter. Like if you would normally like scroll your phone in bed for like an hour before you go to bed, just like do it on a treadmill. Do it when you're on a walk. Do it outside on a bench. Just being outside is good too. And I think those also can help sort of boost your mood and give you more positive feelings. And also, especially right now, I don't know if you're in the northern hemisphere, but with it being summer, I know some places are now getting the heat wave that we just had here. But right now here, it's like it's great weather. I mean, as you can tell, I'm wearing a sweater, and I'm also able to have the stream going, which I was not able to last week because it was so hot. But it's like 84. It's fantastic weather. It's basically perfect outside, and like, you know, take advantage. That's my advice. What is solo poly? Solo poly, I mean, basically like any label, it sort of means different things to different people, but when I say solo poly, what I'm talking about is a style of polyamory where you do not have any like primary partners, nesting partners, anything like that. You're dating multiple people, but I guess I've heard people describe it as like you are your own primary partner. Like, you're not looking for somebody to be a primary partner to you, or like a nesting partner or life partner. You're just out there doing your own thing, and you're also dating multiple people at the same time, but you don't have like a primary. That's how I think about it. I'm sure there's other ways of viewing solo poly, but that's my short definition of what it means. Because a lot of people in polyamory, it's actually very funny. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to be mean, but there was somebody who was like advertising a like polyamory awareness event where it's like, oh, here's a group for polyamorous people to like go water rafting or something, which sounded fun. But the photo they used to advertise it was of like a heterosexual couple, like a dyad, like two people, and I'm like, why is it whenever we advertise polyamory, it's always like a couple that's like this, you know? And like presumably with other people they're also dating off screen somewhere in the distance, or like a person they hook up with and like, you know, do things with as a couple. Like the visual of polyamory is oftentimes like still constructed in like a couple centered way, and like it's talked about like, oh, polyamory is when you and your partner date other people. Like it's still very like, it's like you two are up here and then your other partners are down here, and they're like extras. Like there's still a main two people, and I think solo polyamory tries to kind of get rid of that way of thinking about things. And like you may have partners that you like see more than the others, or maybe one is long distance and others aren't. Like, you know, it can be different combinations there of, you know, maybe how intense the relationships are, how much time you spend on them. But there's a lot of, because we are so thoroughly only exposed to monogamous relationships that even when we're adults in polyamorous relationships, like they still get viewed and like talked about in a way that betrays the underlying monogamous culture that we all grew up in. Does that make sense? I feel like that's a very weird point to make, but it makes sense to me in my head. That makes sense to me in my head. Agree, dancing is the only thing that makes me feel confident socially. Not that I'm at all skilled, just expressive and surprisingly funky. It gets compliments and it feels good. Yes, especially if there's like kink parties that have like a dance element to them, or like even going to like a club with dancing, or like a goth club or something. Those are always really fun. I don't really go to them because COVID, but like when I've done them before, or like at times when there's like less COVID happening than there is currently, it's been really fun. And dancing is fun. Dancing is great. Karaoke nights as well, those are fun. And Depending on where you live, they're very popular. Karaoke nights are. So always something going on. Always something going on. Double daters? Are double daters secretly poly? I don't know what that means. Are you talking about people when it's like a couple and they're both on a date together? No, I don't think so. I mean, like, I'm sure... Does that occasionally lead to, like, a poly fidelity type arrangement? Or some kind of... Would that be... I don't know what the French word for four is. Un, deux, trois. Un, deux, trois. Quatre? Quatre? I don't really know French. Whatever the French word for four is. Because it's not ménage à trois. It's ménage à whatever. Ménage à whatever the word for four is. Ménage à trois plus one. That's what it is. No, I would not call that. I think most of the time it's just like a shared fun experience together. Like, it's like, oh, we're all friends, we're gonna do something together. But it's not like, there's not a group date intention. It's about like, well, my buddy and his girl want to go to the fair together, and they all go to the fair together. That's more the vibe. Yeah. I know what a ménage à trois is. I don't know how to say the number 4 in French. You can't make me. I'm not gonna do it. I find French like impossible to like penetrate. I don't know how to. I don't think my brain is meant to operate within French linguistics. I don't think my brain's ready for that. Because anytime you try to say anything as an American in another language, you just get beat down in the comments, and I don't want to try. Oh, like, you mean when people are doing a double date? Are they secretly covering up poly by saying they're on a double date? I mean, I'm sure, but that kind of arrangement in polyamory is so uncommon. I don't really think that is a good... I don't know. I don't think it's probably a big chunk of the people that are doing it. I think most people are... If they're doing a double date, they're really doing a double date. They're not doing... I mean, honestly, if anything, that's probably more likely to be swingers than it is polyamorous people. Because, like, two couples dating the opposite side of the couple in different arrangements, like, that's pretty complicated for polyamory. That's a lot of different personalities that all have to get along with each other and have to date each other and also have that attraction. But swinging, that does happen, for sure. That's, like... I would even say it's like the main way swinging happens. So that's probably how I think about it. What do you call a poly relationship that suddenly becomes long distance? Polygon. Da-da-da. Thanks, guys. I'll be here all week. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Thank you. All right. Let's get into some more questions. Okay. Da-da-da. Cyberdoggo 2077. I know, that's actually what I was thinking of. I was thinking of that when I saw when my dog camera was glitching earlier. I was thinking it did kind of remind me of the Cyberpunk, the intro screen. Long legs? Oh, enjoy that. I don't really know what that is. That feels like that's probably a horror movie, but I don't know. Have fun. Don't have your phone on watching a stream while you're at the movie theater. It feels very rude. But thanks for stopping by. I appreciate that. There's a reason MILF has been in the top 5 categories for the last, past decade. On the one hand, I'm like, are you saying I'm a MILF? What? And second of all, there is a constant hypocrisy, maybe is how I'd say it. There's a constant hypocrisy where on the one hand, society out loud, verbally, to the world is like, women are old when they're older than 25 and they lose all value at 30 and they stop existing or being important and we stop paying attention to them. And they're only important as mothers, not as individual people. But that does not mean that people do not have the capacity to be horny for women that are older. They just don't verbally display it. I also think people expect basically until menopause, your body does not unless you've had kids or like significant weight loss or a couple other things. Like for the most part, your body doesn't really have a lot of radical changes until you get to the age of menopause. Like you could like remove somebody, like don't have put a photo from like the like neck down, and as long as the person hasn't had like crazy weight loss, had multiple kids, had like significant sun damage from like not wearing sunscreen as a kid, whatever, like for the most part, you're not really gonna be able to tell off the bat like a 25-year-old from even like a 38, 39-year-old. Like it's not like I see like photos on FetLife all the time from people who are in their like late 30s, early 40s, and like if you didn't know their account and what their age was, you would like not even think twice about them being in their 20s. Like it just would not even be a thing you'd think about. Hey Evie, you answered a question I had on stream a year ago, and I just want to say thank you for your encouragement. I've had a fulfilling BDSM life ever since. Oh my gosh, you're so welcome. Thank you. Wow. I was responsible for a whole successful year of kinking. Great news. Thank you. Women are actually hotter when they're older. They age like wine. I mean, I've heard that said the opposite way. I've heard that women age like milk, men age like wine. Sure. Okay. Listen, I don't know why you all think you're George Clooney, but I need to. But you're not George Clooney. Like, take it from somebody who sees a pretty wide age range on dating apps. Like, I see anyone who's like basically about my age to men that are like almost 40, and I don't know what happens. There are some men who are 35 and look basically the same as I do, and look more or less the same as they did at like in their mid-20s. And then there's men who are 35 that look like they're 45. And I don't know what happens. I don't know what it is. I think partly it's probably like hair color. I also think it's probably people that like have not taken great care of their skin or like not worn sunscreen, and there's a lot like they just have a lot more photo aging. And it's like, are you lying about your age, or are you just 35 and you aged like real rough? Like, what happened there? I don't know. Not to judge anyone, because I don't really care, but it is an observation that I'm making. That's like, you can be different people that are the same age can look so different from each other. I think of the difference between polyamory and swingers as a cultural thing, but I really don't have a lot of knowledge about swingers and experiences. I mean, I would say it goes like, they are different cultures. So like that is like, it's like, well, yeah, they are different on that level. Their philosophy and approach to things is very different. Like swingers are not, they may have other couples they're friends with, they swing with, but they're not dating the other people they're swinging with. Their swinging is for like hookups, and like it's more like casual connections, like doing something for one night with a person, doing something as a couple with somebody. Like it's very casual, it's very sex focused, it's very still centered on like the primary dyad, and then like anyone else who comes in is like just there for the night basically most of the time, outside of like swinger couples establishing like ongoing relationships with other swinger couples. I think when you're getting into that, it does kind of cross into like, where is the line between swinging and polyamory? But for the most part, it's very different. Swingers also have very different feelings about like alcohol and intoxication at their events, and consent, and how you approach people, and like I don't agree with a lot of that really, but the polyamorous world is very different when it comes to a lot of the stuff. Although I don't really go to like just poly events. Because my primary thing is kink and then polyamory, so I find it a lot easier to find polyamorous people that are kinky in the kink community versus trying to find kinky people that are polyamorous in the polyamorous community, you know? Like, I don't know, like, people that are polyamorous can be very vanilla. Like, it's not just always kink all the time. Not always just kink. So I tend to prioritize the thing that's more important to me. Although, obviously, like, I can't really, like, I'm not going to date a monogamous person who's kinky because, like, I'm not monogamous and that would just not work. But, yeah. I wonder why people hate polyamory. Me too, relaxing all day, every day. I think to myself, why does everyone hate polyamory? What's going on? And it's honestly, I feel very validated not in a happy way, more in a begrudging, I told you so kind of a way. I feel like I have observed in the last year this very strange culmination of a lot of different things happening at once. Like, you kind of saw, there's been for the last couple of years little bits and pieces of this popping up. Like, the people on TikTok that are really, like, anti-birth control. And they're against, but they'll do, like, the rhythm method. And then, like, then they realize the rhythm method doesn't actually really work that well. So, like, anti-birth control people, the trad wife people, the no kink at pride people. You kind of saw this all popping up. And I feel like this year it's coalesced into, now it's, like, everything, right? Like, it's, like, and HIV medication, taking medication to prevent the spread of HIV means that you're a slut and just date normal people who don't have HIV. Like anti-tampon, the anti-birth control thing, again, still, the anti-polyamory thing, the anti-kink at pride, the anti-kink for women, the anti-queer people looking too visibly queer, like... there is just a weird phenomenon going on that I don't really know how to explain, but I think if I had to summarize it in short order, I think people's rage, because that's what it feels like, it's that level, I think people's rage against polyamory has a level of, like, projection to it. Not even projection, but displacement, maybe. Like, displacement of other unresolved feelings that they can't find an acceptable target for. And so then they latch onto polyamory, and, like, polyamory is kind of like the universal punching bag between, like, conservatives, progressives, religious people, atheists, queer people, straight people, like... trans people, cis people, like, kind of everyone has a shot at, like, making fun of polyamory. And so because of that, everyone gets an equal opportunity to hand on them. It makes it very easy and very acceptable to write think pieces about, like, how polyamory is cringe and bad. And all it takes is, like, one book, one opportunity for someone to be like, aha, look, proof. And that's the thing I've seen more recently. Like, I think why it's happening now is... there was a book that was published in the last year or so that's gotten a lot of media attention from, like, big, like, New York Times, Atlantic, big publications that are very impactful. They've all done reviews of it and reactions to it in various forms, be that, like, actual reviews in, like, their book review section or op-eds or, whatever flavor they happen to offer as an organization. And so many of them kind of latch onto this as, like, proof of how women are never happy in polyamory and how women are just kind of gaslighting themselves into accepting polyamory because their husband wants it or because they think it's going to save their marriage or something. And, like, that is, like, objectively not true. And also there's, like, dozens of books that came out about polyamory before this that have never been mentioned. And no one interviews polyamorous people. Like... it's strange how much of the ire against polyamorous people are from articles written about polyamory, written by non-polyamorous people who did not speak to polyamorous people, who did not interview polyamorous people, and have not read more literature about polyamory than a single book they didn't like. And that just forms their whole opinion of the whole thing. And it's like, that doesn't feel accurate to me. I feel like we could have done something different there, Can we just the anti-people? IDK just spitting out ideas here? It's so crazy. It just might work. It could work. I could see that working. We just gotta be the ultimate haters of haters. Who will hate the haters? It's been said. I think that's true. Yes, you are a mod, Hellhound, but we got other mods in the chat. All is good. OMG, the prep discourse on X, or just Twitter. I refuse to Twitter, you can dead name. I've been given permission to dead name Twitter. Has been wild and similar vibes for polyamory, and as you say, anyone who does relationships, kink, sex differently seems to trigger a meltdown. Yeah, I just think people are really, like... I don't want to say it in a way that makes it feel like I'm being like, oh, Pep Hat sad baby is so triggered, but like legitimately I really think that a lot of people are very traumatized from the last couple of years, and previous to that I think we've been, even in America and certainly in other countries around the world, we've collectively been through a lot where we have seen our governments, our people, our systems that were supposed to be in place not function as intended and not fulfill their promises. And that's very disruptive for a lot of people, especially younger people are doing this because it's mostly like young queer people doing this. They had a massive disruption to a very important developmental window. Like if they were in anywhere from like 8th grade to like the middle of their college years when the pandemic started, they have since, and during that time as well, when like school was like not happening and then it was remote and it was through Zoom, like there was a massive interruption to development that a lot of places did not properly rectify or deal with. And so what's that leading to? Naturally, it's going to lead to people that do not have the social acumen of like other generations, other people that have reached a similar age, because they just did not get the same level of socialization and learning. And so they may be 25, but they're maybe more like they're 18, you know, in their behavior, or younger than that even in some of their behavior. So there's a lot of trauma, a lot of upsetness, a lot of really big, hard to deal with feelings. And it's a lot easier to blame other people for making you feel bad, or having to like, it's if you're outside your window of tolerance, if you're outside of your window of tolerance of like getting to have, if you don't know what window of tolerance is, let me like just give you a quick definition. So window of, no, not just windows. I don't need to buy windows. Oh God, no, window of tolerance. Thank you. A window of tolerance is the zone where intense emotional arousal can be processed in a healthy way, allowing you to still be able to function. Like, I think so many people have been functioning outside of their window of tolerance for so long. And I know I've been in places in my life where this has been true. That, like, any other new thing that's, like, scary or different or makes you upset, you, like, can't handle it. Like, you just don't. Actually, I'm probably going to, now that I'm talking about it here, I feel like this actually is, like, a great way of explaining. Like, because I think instead of like just making a video about the PrEP thing, or just making a video about like the anti-birth control thing, or there was another discourse that happened too. It was on social media that was like, where the fuck did this come from? Their general other puritanical beliefs have not yet addressed in video format in some way. Like, I think this window of tolerance is like a really good way of thinking about it. You have people, generally speaking, like engaging online and getting really angry about something is like they're getting into like a state of hyperarousal, and they are staying there. And so anything like normally a thing that maybe like 10 years ago people could have just been like, oh, that's different and weird, but whatever, and then just like brush it off and move along. Now it's activating and it's triggering and it's upsetting, and they have to fight about it and tell you that they're wrong in order for them to be able to re-regulate and like feel comfortable. And instead of like being able to regulate in a way that's like healthy and productive and respectful, they regulate by like bullying people, basically. Like, if I socially oppress people and convince myself the thing I don't like will not become socially acceptable, I can feel better about myself again, and I can like reduce my state of arousal, basically. I feel like is like my working theory somewhat of how this can work, of people being very upset about things and just not being able to handle, like, it just like, it's so like, it's so bizarre, because a couple years ago this was not happening. This was not like, there would be little, you know, little spats, little blow up moments every once in a while where someone would be upset about like, you know, Kink at Pride or whatever, but it was not to the level that I've been seeing more recently, and it's very bizarre. I think people are just at, largely in a lot of places online, at the end of their proverbial rope, and they are not dealing with it in a healthy way, and their main way of coping with it, dealing with their fear and intense state of arousal, is to make it everyone else's problem. Right? They seem very genuinely upset and emotionally activated by people living their lives. You're right to have compassion. I hadn't quite processed how young these people are. Yeah, I mean, like, because I've been looking into this, and I've anything I've talked about, like everyone getting really upset about CNC, or like the nun discourse about if it's okay to like objectify the concept of a nun. Like, basically, all of these big accounts that are getting really popular and blowing up for making these controversial statements, I mean, if they list their age, and sometimes you can kind of suss it out with other ways, like what other media are they engaging in, what, fandoms are they a part of. For the most part, it's people that are like 22 and under, sometimes even teenagers kind of latching onto a lot of this discourse, but they just don't have, I mean, like, if you're teenager level, like if you're literally 16 and engaging in this discourse, one, please stop. Don't do that there's no reason for you to be participating in this. Please log off. But even for people that are a little bit older than that, like, I think there is, one, they just haven't had the time to be able to properly develop, like, tolerance skills because they're literally a teenager, and that's, like, part of what they're supposed to be learning how to do. Not that everyone always gets that opportunity as a teenager. Some of us don't. But that's, like, part of the goal of, like, emotional skills to learn before you fully come out into adulthood. But I do think that people appear to me to be very largely emotionally exhausted. Like, I think back in the day, like 2010, right? So, like, when I was first more involved in online community spaces in like the early 2010s and onward, or even when I first started making YouTube videos, like, you would get people that have arguments, but they were almost always like bad faith troll arguments about something, like somebody being like, hey, I'm gonna really rile people up by saying that I can't even think. It's probably something anti-SJW related, right? I'm going to make a tweet about how Anita Sarkeesian is ugly. Send, And that's the extent of the discourse, is like somebody trolling, not giving a serious opinion, and almost taking pride in their lack of an emotional response to other people being activated. Whereas now it's almost the opposite, where people are getting really upset about things that are, like, seemingly extremely important to them for some fucking reason, and then all the rest of us being like, what are you talking about? Like, do you know how the world works yet? Do you know what PrEP is? Do you... like just very confusing, just sort of the role reversal of, like, now we've kind of moved, I think, from an age of, like, trolling and insincerity into sincere hatred as opposed to insincere trolling. I kind of prefer the insincere trolling, if I'm going to be honest. I feel like they're both probably bad for your mental development. I don't know, the jury's probably out on whether, like, detached trolling is worse for your mental upbringing than what's currently going on. But I am pretty confident in saying that neither one of them are good. Neither one of them are things that we should be aiming for. It's crazy how some people think they have a right to tell other people who aren't hurting others how to live their lives. Well, that's, like, their whole point. Like, their argument a lot of times is like part of this is, and maybe this is because I feel called out by this a little bit. It's like, are you talking about me? Like, there was a very viral tweet that happened where somebody was like, millennial women got brainwashed into accepting sex positivity and look how it's ruined them. Like, from a Gen Z person. In response, by the way, to a Gen Z person doing something. Like, millennial women weren't involved in this conversation until they got inserted into it for some reason. I don't know how that happened. But, like, making an accusation that is, like, generalizing and is frankly sexist, but then saying it's not sexist because to infantilize women and tell an entire generation they've been brainwashed with, like, no evidence. Like, genuinely, like, what is happening? I don't know. I don't know how that's beneficial in any way. And it just, people love telling other people what they should be doing or how to live their lives. And because they think, they're like, listen, this is not, like, they're afraid. Like, they're afraid of, if you step out of line and do the wrong thing, you're going to, like, hurt the community. See, it's not only young people, they're also queer young people, too. And there's a weird respectability, like, Puritanism thing happening where they're all wondering, like, how they can get acceptance in larger culture, and they think that, like, other queer people being, like, too cringe for having multicolored hair or, like, I don't know, doing whatever is gonna damage their ability to, like, get a job at Goldman Sachs. Like, I don't really know if that has any correlation there. I know, right? It's crazy. I'm a trans man, and it pisses me off the amount of people who think they have the right to choose what I get to do with my body. I'm a legal adult. Yeah. imagine telling people they're infantilized and insane for doing something that just like makes them happy they can consent to. Like, I don't know if it's a helicopter parenting. I don't know if it's the pandemic. I don't know what was the spark there, if there was a singular spark that lit the fire, but all of it seems to have contributed in its own way for sure. The genuine vitriol is wild, yeah. It's just, yeah. That's the part that gets me. Like, I think people previously would have said, oh, well, they're not really outraged. It's just for clicks. It's for attention. You're in an echo chamber. You're in a bubble. Most people don't think like that. And the only reason you're seeing it is because the most intense things rise to the top. But I think we created this sounds weird, but the way I'm thinking about it in my head is like, we created a social media ecosystem that rewarded our social like media system, our journalists, creators, to make sensationalized content that was very polarizing. And so people made content that indicated being very polarized and was very clickbaity and showed extreme emotions and it showed extreme takes. And like, there's dozens of videos I can point to that are about like how deeply somebody hates something, like the way a book got translated onto the screen, or a Netflix movie, or whatever. Like, kind of weird humming noise for a second. Just weird stuff that you would not necessarily think would be very impactful long term, but that kind of changed into, well, now like everything is like blown up, and like reaction content is about like the worst thing ever, the most insane person ever, this like it's very intense. I think that's kind of led people that are not creators to almost sort of take on that lens in a more real way. Like, it's not just, oh, React content creators are making a video where they talk about how much they hate some, you know, dumb person in like a TikTok compilation. Like, now it's translated into like all of the media, and all the popular stuff was about how much we hated and disliked things, because that was what got clicks, because it's negative and that tends to be more popular. Now people are unironically like adopting that stance in a very real way. That's not just like a show or performance, because they're people, they're not content creators, and it's affecting their actual life because they are much more personally involved with those feelings about the opinions they have, as opposed to like a more detached thing that like most content creators have towards things they have strong opinions about. I don't know if that makes sense. To be honest, did millennials really have a reaction to Gen X? Because I don't remember that like happening. From what I can see, millennials are getting it from both directions. Gen X are like, we were the last tough generation. We drank out of hoses and we played in the dirt and we were unsupervised until 8 p.m. every night. And like Zoomers are like, millennials are cringe and their memes are bad. Like, just getting it from all angles there, really. I'm generally a fan of the live and let live policy, but when people start to take that level where it's restricting or hurting other people, that crosses the line. Yeah, I think so too. I think, like, you know, you can't tolerate intolerance, because then you're not going to have any room left for actual tolerance. I've talked about that before in like videos where I've discussed incels. Like, it's weird. Like, that's another stage too, right? Of like this whole process of the internet changing, is like, it used to be, okay, first it was trolling. And then, I mean, this isn't really linear this way, but like, you know, different overlapping groups, right? There's trolling, there's genuine critique, there's, you know, people that maybe came from trolling communities that are now like giving serious negative opinions about stuff, not just trolling, right? So like the far right people, manosphere people, you know, that sort, that are all hating at like, you know, blue-haired women and like blue-haired, the bisexuals or whatever, you know, that they're hating on that week. And those used to be the people, like, it was very us against them. And we were the them and they were the us, and they were the ones that were attacking us. And now it's insular. Now we don't need the alpha males to come in and, you know, tell us how, you know, no man would ever want to date a woman who's had 15 bodies or whatever. We don't need that anymore. Not that we really listen to it anyways. Now, all the most intense, hateful stuff has been like completely replaced by like other people of the same identity in the same community in the same group, almost doing it for them. Like, I feel a little bit like, did we get manipulated at some point? Did somebody like wind up the wind-up toy and just set it free and allow it to like click-clack around, and like now we're just, without having to be pushed in any particular direction by like some guy in the far right or like a manosphere person, now we're just doing it all ourselves. We're ruffling all the feathers on our own. They don't have to be involved at all. They just get to sit back and watch it. And I feel like that's probably not good. Well, I'm Gen Z, but my parents are boomers. Or sorry, I'm a millennial, but my parents are boomers. So, I guess I don't know if that falls into the Gen X thing. I've also seen stats that show, in general, younger as in Gen Z, I'm assuming also Gen Alpha, women are skewing more left and young men are skewing more right. Yes, that's what I've seen. I don't know if that's been updated recently, because I think that data is a couple years old, but I do remember seeing that as well, that like there's, I think overall the generation is trending more liberal or more progressive, but it's because like maybe it used to be more like this, where like men have always been like on average more conservative than women of the same generation, but now it's kind of gone, men are a bit more conservative and women are like way more liberal than they were before. Like it's kind of done this to like this, like it's spread out quite a lot. So I don't know if that trend's gonna hold or if it's a fluke. I mean, who knows? Like many things could happen that could change that over the course of the rest of the history that Gen Z as a generation is going to be a part of, but not great so far. Not great so far. Yes, thank you. It was my birthday. Thank you. On the 5th. Yes, you did say it last night. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and also 9 years on YouTube. It's a fun time. I hope that we keep going in the right direction, but no guarantees on that. No guarantees. I don't know why I'm like suddenly really tired. I don't know. I just started like talking and I got really tired, which honestly is probably good. I've had a lot of difficulty with like, I sleep well when I do fall asleep, but I've been getting like 6 hours of sleep every night and then not napping, and it's weird. There's always someone for everyone, so please do not panic, okay? I'm not panicking for myself. I feel fine. I mean, in the sense that, like, it's not about, like, finding a person. Like, I have partners. It's just more about, like, there's still that rhetoric of, like, I don't know, people being disrespectful because of my age. Because they're like, oh, you're old now. That's more what I'm talking about, but I appreciate it. Okay, we got a two-parter here. Apologies if you're on question. No worries. As long as it's under, if it's 3 or fewer, it'll be fine. Do you have any ideas for scenes that don't involve pain? Oh, boy, do I. I've generally stuck to the S side of the slash in the past, and I want to explore the other side of things more, but I have no idea where to start because my frame of reference is largely based on what I enjoy, which is more the pain side of things. Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay, so I guess I'm going to infer from what you're saying that you're looking to top and you have a partner that wants to, I mean, it doesn't really matter for my answer either way, I guess, but it sounds like maybe you're looking for ideas that you can do as a top that do not involve pain play. So many things. I think first of all, pain is a spectrum of experiences, and like pain is also very individual, and it's also sort of like cultural as well. Like there are some people I've played with, like usually people that are from like Eastern Europe and further out that way, like a lot of them like don't really experience pain the way that like somebody from North America would, and like they basically won't ever say anything is painful. Like not just like the one-off extreme masochist, but like as a general observation I've noticed. So it's like it depends on the person, like what they consider to be painful and what's just like intense sensation, or is tickling painful. Like for some people yes, but some people no. Like it depends on how you define what you consider to be painful. But for things that don't involve pain play, gosh, so many things, right? Like bondage can be decorative, it could be sensual, it can be nice, it does not have to be painful. Sensation play, that can involve pain, Doesn't have to, right? That could be, the classic feather tickler ice cube scenario. That could be, you get real weird with it if you have some fun toys around, or if you want to have them guess like what different toys are that you're using on them. It's also really fun to repurpose toys you would normally use for impact play or for pain as like sensation play tools. Like you can take a flogger and like kind of jiggle it, and the falls will like kind of raindrop against the skin, right? As opposed to like, doing this, it ends up being more kind of like a back and forth, almost like a soft mop, like a soft mop sensation. I don't know. It's not the best comparison, but like, you can reuse tools to like give them a different context, where like you have like a wooden paddle, right? And you can like rub the wooden paddle against the skin. You can take the narrower side of the paddle, and you can like run it up and down against the skin, like kind of like a violin bow type thing. You can do like pressure points, you can do massage. Again, that can get like, it can be painful, it cannot be painful. There's different ways of approaching that. Sensory deprivation, also not about pain, so like blindfolds, earplugs, gags, hoods. It goes really well with bondage. This is something that I personally really enjoy doing. It doesn't have to be painful. For some people, it can be. There's also like emotional intensity too. So like for one person, doing like sensory dep can be really intense because it makes them like, maybe they don't like the feeling of being like constrained in a hood, and like they maybe do sensory deprivation, but it's from like a psychologically intense place where it's uncomfortable for them. Whereas for me, it's just relaxing. So. Again, as always, it'll depend on the person, but it's something that I personally do that I find to be very fun. Bondage doesn't necessarily have to incorporate pain. That's true. I have fibromyalgia, so pain really looks different for me. That's true. Lots of fibro people in the community. Lots of EDS, lots of fibro. It's like, we have a lot of, honestly, chronic pain, neurodivergence. Those two things go together to begin with. Like, there's a correlation there from what I understand in the literature, but also definitely correlates with kink as well. Chronic pain is a thing a lot of people experience in kink, for sure, and use kink sometimes as a tool for processing that. But yeah, sensory deprivation, bondage, any kind of role play stuff can be really fun, right? That could be like maid role play, nurse role play, pet role play, any kind of role play you like. And you can do fun activities with that, right? They can make you a meal, they can give you a foot massage, they can play fetch, they can, you can teach them how to do tricks. So it doesn't have to be anything with pain, but it can more kind of focus on the power differential and playing with that too. And let's see, what else I would kind of like recommend for a beginner that doesn't necessarily involve a lot of tools. Other things. I don't know why I'm just like suddenly. I feel like this is how I feel when I get road hypnosis. I think it must be my streaming lights. I think I moved them, and maybe it's like messing with my brain. But yeah, bondage that's sensual. Yeah, I gotta, honestly, anytime you do anything with bondage, when I say sensual, I have an idea of what I mean by that. Different people can take that to mean different things. Always clarify with the partner if you're going to be doing different styles and like what you're trying to get out of it and what it means to you. Yeah. And then I think if you do want to get into maybe like non-physical forms of pain play, you can always get into like emotional sadomasochism. You can get into, because some people, even if they don't like physical pain, they maybe are really into emotional sadomasochism. And so they might enjoy like humiliation, degradation, objectification, anything in that wheelhouse. Even things like praise kink, right? Praise kink, playing with like feelings of embarrassment. That can be very positive for people, even if they don't necessarily enjoy pain. I find that like a very hard scene to do as like a new top. I feel like you have to have, especially for emotional masochism, there's a lot more of like a performance element to it. Because you just, it's you and your voice, and you're doing stuff and you're directing it. And I think that's not always easy for people, unless you're naturally drawn to it as a top. I think it's not as easy to like immediately get into that. Yeah. Gloves are great. Gloves are really good. Good for sensation. good overall. People love gloves. People love hands and gloves. But I think that's enough general areas to kind of give you a sense of maybe something to start with, or maybe research a little bit more. Yeah, I'll leave it there. I feel like I want to keep going and give more ideas, but my brain's not able to access them right now, so I'm just going to move on. Exploring at 33 has been a blast. Awesome. Glad to hear it. I think I answered the one about Gretchen Whitmer. I have strong opinions. I don't know why there's... Oh! I didn't even realize that. I didn't even look. Why is there someone with a Vouch profile picture in the stream? I mean, I don't know. People are fans of all different kinds of people. Honestly, there was like a weird moment where there was like a crossover with like a Vouch thing once. Maybe it was the Kink at Pride discourse. I don't know. There was like something that came up where like a couple people who were Vouch fans came to my channel and were like, hey, and I was like, well, I don't know why you're here, but okay. Like, I'm not sure what it is, but they do pop up from time to time. I always appreciate your content, Evie. It's been pretty big and informative as I've navigated BDSM and my sexuality. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I will definitely try to. We definitely tend. I mean, I'm glad that I don't have anything from earlier than that easily available on the internet to be able to cringe at. Yeah. Hoping to meet up with the top later. I hope she gets back to me, but if not, I'll be chilling here. Well, good luck, Alex. Hopefully they show up, but if not, happy to have you. How do you get someone to accept DDLG? Just curious, or is there no hope? Not really a lot of context. I'm gonna guess in the way that you're phrasing that, you're talking about you're in a relationship and you want someone to accept the fact that you're into DDLG. But what does acceptance mean? Because there's participation and then there's acceptance. And I think some people believe that acceptance will mean participation. So your partner, you can tell your partner, I'm into DDLG or CGL or whatever, and I really like it. It's like my favorite kink. I'd love to do it with you. What do you think about that? And they can say, no, that's not really my kink. I'm not really comfortable with that. I don't really know what that means. I don't really want to go there. But I don't think it's weird or wrong or gross for you to have that kink. It's just not one that I have. I'm not really interested in like acting on it. That, I think, can be acceptance, even if your partner is not into that themselves, because they're not judging you. They're not making any derogatory comments towards you. They're not telling you you're weird or bad or gross or wrong for having your kink. They're accepting the kink, but they don't want to do it with you. But some people think that acceptance is like doing the kink with the other person or being willing to try it. And I think if somebody... I don't know if you've talked to this particular person, if you have a particular person you are trying to talk to about this, but if somebody has told you, no, I'm not comfortable with it, that's not really my kink, I don't want to go there, you kind of got to accept that for what it is. You can't force someone, and you should not. I mean, you can, but you shouldn't. You should not force someone to accept, and by accepting, mean participate in a kink that they're not into. That is only ever going to lead to resentment. That is not going to, you can't make someone be into something they're not into. And if somebody's like, I'm not really sure about that, but I'm willing to try, you can definitely teach them more about what it is and have kind of a experimental, let's see how this works phase where you try it out, and then they can give you your honest feedback on what they do or don't like and go from there. But if somebody gives you a hard no, it's kind of a hard no. Like, could you, if you were unethical about it and like just wore the person down by asking repeatedly, or by like guilting them into it, or making it sound like this is the most important thing ever, and that if they can't accept it, like it's gonna be in the world, like, yeah, you can push someone into being okay with it, maybe, but that's not really going to get you what you want or what you deserve long term. Like, you deserve to have a relationship with somebody that is into the same kinks as you, that not only is like accepting of them and willing to maybe try them, but it's also into them. Like, not just like, I'll do it if you make me, but like likes doing the thing. I think that's perfectly fine to look for. But you can certainly, if somebody is like open to it and they're curious, you can explore with them, but you have to be very cautious about like not making anyone do anything they're not comfortable with. Like, I think this is something, I don't know what it is about particular kinks. Maybe it's the fact that they're not very widely accepted, or something about the nature of them, or what, but there are just certain kinks I think people, and like fetishes too as well, that people will sort of think, oh, well, it's not a big deal. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. Why is this so hard? Why won't they just do this for me? And they feel like they have permission to like push a partner into being okay with something when really they should not be doing that. And it doesn't lead to a healthy relationship. Like, be that with DDLG or with feet or with like sissy stuff or whatever. Like, just don't push your partner. It's not going to end well. It is not going to end up well for you. It's not going to lead you to the relationship you want to have. So not that there's no hope, but it depends on what the starting point is. But also, like, if DDLG is that important to you where you need to have it in a relationship and you're not happy without it to the point where you're considering like kind of pushing somebody into it or thinking if it like is possible to do so, I think you should, and I know it's hard, especially if you've had a longer relationship leading up to this point, like you should consider trying to find a partner that is just already into DDLG also, and so you already have that in common, and this is not going to be a potential source of a huge issue in your relationship. Yeah. I also recently had a relationship end. Remember to allow yourself to be sad or mad or whatever. Grieving is important even if the end of a relationship is for the best. True. True. Depends on who the someone is. For the DLG thing. It's my partner I've been with for 9 years and they won't accept it at all. Well, I mean, sunk cost fallacy, right, Amanda? Like, I mean, I'm assuming you're monogamous. I feel like if you were in an open relationship, like, this would probably be a different story. But, I mean, if your partner has been with you for 9 years, I don't know what conversations you've had with them, and they won't accept it, like, on any level. Like, we're talking about, they don't even want to know that you have this kink. They don't want you, like, even if they're not involved with it, they don't want to know about it or hear about it at all, and they don't, like, they're uncomfortable with you being into it at any level. Like, that is really hard. I think there is potentially room for compromise if you have been together for so long and you're both really into each other and you, like, you want that relationship or even need that relationship to work for other reasons. Like, you can find a place of compromise of, you know, if you both want to, and you have to both want it, you can potentially have a partner who's willing to say, I'm not really into DDLG, but you're really important to me, so I'm going to be willing to try it or have some kind of very limited thing that we do so that way your needs can be met and we can continue to have a relationship. But not otherwise, like, you know, they're not really going to want to be super involved with it. It's not going to be super regular. And you have to decide if you are willing to accept that minimum or if it's not enough for you. And it's okay for it to be not enough for you. Don't have the 9 years turn into 29 years. Like, if you're monogamous and you're in this relationship and DDLG is super important to you and you can't really be happy without it, you do have to at some point evaluate, am I willing to give up this thing forever and no longer have it with a partner, have no hope of that, to be with this person because it would be unethical for me to, like, force them to be into it? Or do I decide that exploring this is more important to me and I want to, you know, leave this relationship? I mean, there's some other rooms for compromise if you are okay with some degree of an open relationship, right? Like, depending on how much they're willing to accept it, even without their own personal involvement, right? Like, maybe you get to a point where you can go to, like, DDLG events by yourself and just not play with other people or only play platonically, or you can, like, hire a pro dom to do scenes with instead. Like, there's workarounds that are possible if you're not super strictly monogamous, but they're not things that I am reluctant to suggest open relationships or polyamory as a fix to a relationship with a big pain point in it, but it is possible. It is possible. The makeup is makeuping. Yes. Yeah, the eyeliner is eyelinering for sure. My goodness. But DDLG is really hard. I do find a lot of people have, like, a struggle finding partners who accept them that are okay with DDLG. Like, especially if you're, like, in the monogamous vanilla world, like, a lot of people are very, I guess, because I'll say this as, like, a last thought on this topic. I don't know how many conversations you've had. I don't know what conversations you've had. So maybe it's worth thinking about this in case you haven't done it before. what depth of explanation have you gotten from them about why they won't accept it? Like, what does that mean? Like, when they say they won't accept it, is it their personal disgust there? Do they think that it like leads to CSA? Or are they worried about like some kind of overlap with like pedophilia? Like, do they have some kind of misconceptions about DDLG that if you corrected and showed them evidence for, they might be able to look past that and go, okay, my initial assessment was wrong, I'll reevaluate it with this new information? Because if they can't accept DDLG because they feel like it's like romanticizing pedophilia or something, like that's something you can talk about, and maybe they won't accept your explanation. There are people out there that no matter how many times you explain the research and the science, it says there's no correlation whatsoever between these activities and danger to children at all. Like, there's no correlation there. There are some people who still just feel in their gut it's icky and gross and it's not for them. And that level of disgust, they would need to want to work on it themselves and be very diligent about it to be able to get through it. It is possible. But if it's just been like, no, I'm not into that, I don't really want to try it, and that's it, like, there are maybe some other avenues, some other conversations you could have to help them understand it better, feel more comfortable with it. Because sometimes people feel uncomfortable just because they don't really know a whole lot about the thing, or maybe they don't really know what you want, and they're picturing like ABDL baby in a giant crib, and that like is gross to them. But maybe like some other kinks or aspects of the kink they'd actually be okay with, like in isolation. So there's more you can do to kind of like really drill down into this and try to find those places for compromise, try to find those places where maybe you can create more understanding, but they have to want to go there with you. They have to also want that too. And a lot of people's partners are just going to be like, nope, not for me, not my thing, I don't want to go there, I've said my piece, please stop talking to me about this. And that just is what it is, and it sucks. And it's especially when you feel like you're not being understood and you wish you could say something that if you just said the right words, you could be understood. It's very painful. Being rejected is a painful experience. Hubby convinced me to try a lot of the kinkier sides of life, and I could not be happier. He did, but he didn't coerce me. Yes, that's the difference. So there's giving a partner permission and a safe place to explore, and being willing and open to hear feedback, versus like setting up this dichotomy of like, we have to do this or else. If this doesn't work, if you're not into this kink, our relationship is over. Like, that's very high pressure. It's very, very high stress, and that's not good conditions to have something like this turn out well, versus a more open-ended kind of exploration. Wifey-led marriage. I like that. Supposed to a female-led relationship. Yeah, there's something about like the phrasing in female-led relationship I've never really been fond of. I feel like it feels very it feels very gender essentialist, and it feels very medicalized. I don't know, it just seems off to me for some reason. For lighthearted video ideas, I think kink fashion would be fun. Yes, I do want to talk about fashion at some point. Oh, DDLG is Daddy Dom Little Girl. It is a type of kink dynamic where one partner is the Daddy Dom and one is the little girl. There are many variations of it, many different ways that can look, but that's sort of the short answer there. They won't accept all of it. Sadly, only like the clothes they do, but not everything. They aren't someone who will accept it, I feel like, ever. I kind of want to give up deep down. I mean, hey, don't keep... Like, here's what it is. And maybe you just need permission and you need someone to tell you this. If your gut is telling you for a long period of time, this relationship isn't working, I don't feel accepted here, I don't feel like I can be my full self, it's okay to walk away from that. Like, I feel like people, especially in a long-term relationship, like 9 years, oh my gosh, that's so long. Like, people, especially when you've been together long, people do grow away from each other. They have different interests, they have different things they want from life. And I feel like some people feel like they need a big reason to leave. Like, the only reason to leave a relationship that's been going on for like 5 or 10 years is like cheating, somebody like radically changes religion, gets addicted to drugs, spends all the money, lies in some way. Like, it has to be some really, really big reason. Like, I found out that they were like hooking up with their secretary. Like, that becomes a plausible reason to leave the relationship. But it's okay if you're in a long-term relationship and you're with someone where, like, for not just like I think every once in a while we can have doubts about our partners, and that's okay. But like, if you are continually for weeks, months, years on end feeling like I'm not respected, I'm not seen, I can't be my full self around this person, I feel trapped, I feel uncomfortable, that's enough by itself. That's enough by itself. If you're not getting your this is not just a like selfish thing. Your emotional needs are not being fulfilled, and it's not necessarily their job to make you happy in that way. Like, you don't get the right to like pressure them to be into something they're not into because it would get your needs met. But if that is something that is intolerable to you, and this is the only way you can get your needs met is by having this thing be accepted, and they cannot go there with you, then you have to weigh that decision of like, can I give up this dream in order to be satisfied with what I do have and just have that be the main thing in my life? Or do I want to give my dream of getting this need fulfilled a chance and take a risk because it's like you're staying with the sure thing that is not making you happy instead of going to an unsure thing that could potentially make you happy. Does that make sense? Like, we're sticking because being alone or not being with that person is scarier than a relationship when your needs aren't being met. But DDLG is very popular. This is not like a super niche kink. This is not unheard of. People are out there that like this kink all over the place, okay? Like, this is not like, we're not looking for anything that's like super off the wall, maybe would be a hard need to have met. Like, this is something that's fairly common. I have the confidence that you could potentially find someone that you would be able to express this in a relationship with, probably not even really without having to do a lot of effort, depending on like what else you're looking for in that relationship. But like, if your relationship is not making you happy, don't keep staying in it for forever. Like, if you're married and you have kids and you're really religious and like divorce is against your religion, like, okay. But like, if you're not married and you're dating and like you haven't been happy for a long time, don't keep making yourself not happy. You have options to be happy, and that it's okay to pick yourself. It's okay to pick yourself and choose your happiness over, well, okay, not in a like do whatever you want even if it hurts other people way, but I mean in the sense of like, if you're choosing between staying in a relationship that makes me unhappy versus being by myself and being happy, it's okay to pick being by yourself and being happy. That's okay. That should be okay. I think I find the phrase female-led relationship icky is because the word female, yeah, exactly. It's like the word female is used so often by incels, and like that just feels so strange to see used in a positive way, yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. But I wish you luck, Amanda. I do not envy your position, and I think you're at, and not to make this sound like it's, life or death, but like, I think you are at an important crossroads, and only you can make that decision. I can't make it for you. No one else can make it for you. Your partner can't make it for you. If you have strong reasons to stay in the relationship, if like everything else is perfect, but this is just like not working, which I doubt. Most people that have this kind of thing, usually there are things in their relationship they're going on to. But if everything else is perfect, if you're super compatible in every other way except for this, maybe like try to find some compromise. But I would wager a guess that there's other things that have also built up that also are not perfect, and it's okay to like not continue. It's okay. You're not a quitter. You're not bad. Some relationships are not meant to last for forever, and that's okay. That's just, that's existence. That's life. It's very rare to meet one person when you're like 20 years old and be with them for forever and like never date anyone else and just be in perfect marital bliss for your entire life, starting at like 20. That's not how most people's lives go, unfortunately. Maybe they will benefit from reading a book I mentioned. Oh, yes, when someone you love is kinky. Yes, yes. If they haven't read that, that might be helpful. I get the sense this is more about a specific kink as opposed to, like, knowing about kink in general. But, you know, if you haven't done that, it could potentially help. Yeah, like I was saying, yeah, exactly. Maybe it could help them if they learn more about what it is. I think that too, for sure. DDLG is really more about being valued and taken care of and being protected than it is about age play. Many have misunderstandings about it and disapprove of it, but I think it's cute. Yeah, I mean, like, certainly for... I mean, there's definitely overlap with age play and DDLG, but it's not, like... Age play by itself is not, like, implicit in DDLG. So maybe they just have a misunderstanding of what it is. I've been living in two worlds just to hide my little space. I mean, that's really stressful. Like, having to hide this big part of what you are, like, who you're... and, like, what you're doing... Yeah, very stressful. It can be very healing, but it's the same time, if it's healing and also causing pain because you're having to hide it with somebody who's not accepting it, that's rough. But I won't be having a good relationship with them in the future, but thank you, it helps a lot. Well, you're welcome, Kenzie. I wish you luck. And sometimes, most of the time, honestly, 90+% of the time, a breakup is for the best. I'm sure there are times when a breakup is like, maybe for something silly and the couple could have worked out really well long term if they had just put in a little bit more effort, but most of the time it ends for a reason. Yeah, I wish there was a way for that advice to click. It took like 10 years of confusion here, lol. Yeah. Some people, you know, everyone goes at their own pace. Everyone goes at their own pace. Okay, I'm going to give everyone, you have your 15-minute warning. Get in your questions now. I will not be staying late because I can tell, maybe I'll feel better when I stop streaming, but I can tell that I feel tired. So I'm going to try to get to more questions as I can, but if I haven't gotten to yours yet, feel free to re-ask it now, and I'll be like a chameleon. I'll be looking at both the old chat and the new chat, both the past and the future simultaneously as I walk the halls of the house absolute. Anyways, that's no one... If anyone understands my reference to the house absolute, I don't know what to tell you. You win a prize. I'll give you a sticker. Like, I don't know what to tell you if you get my house absolute reference to time travel, but whatever. Yeah, I would hate to have 90% of my life be great and having to hide the 10% that's crucial to me. That's hard to cope with. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's proportional. Like, that 90% is, like, maybe boring. Like, not that important. Like, the 10% that is our deepest personal inner worlds are very important. Like, I've been in relationships, not really since I've been in the kink community, but, like, you know, like, in my life, I've been in relationships where, like, maybe we got along, like... we were into the same things for media, we enjoyed the same books, we could get along with all different things, you know, that seemed important on paper, but, like, they were not into kink, or they were not into certain things that I was into, and those things are really important to me. And, like, at the end of the day, it did not really matter that, like, those other 90% of things were there. That 10% was the most important. Like, it's not all equal. Not every percentage point is equal in that total, right? There are going to be portions of that are more critical, that are, like, in rank order more important for a relationship. Do you think TMN overlaps with asexuality? I'm trying to figure out if I'm ace. What is TNM? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Telecommunication Management Network. Texas Moratorium Network. Tuberomammillary nucleus. Could somebody... I don't know. I will answer that if you tell me what a TMN is. Because I don't know. I can't find what that means. I don't know. He just keeps telling me about telecommunication management networks. So I can't answer that unless I know what TMN is. But feel free to let me know. I'll keep an eye out for it. Do you have any advice for long distance discipline from a submissive's perspective? Take advantage of voice notes and video calls and recording things and send them to your partner. Telegram is great. Signal's great. Those are great. Short advice. Oh, touch me not. Oh, right. Okay. I mean, let me think about this for a second. So, like, okay, let me make sure I understand what a touch me not is, because I think I know, but it's not like, because that's like a term for like lesbians that isn't that like a stone? Isn't that like a stone top? Oh, we won't let you to touch back. Yeah. So if I'm understanding it correctly, I mean, I guess it's sort of in the name, but you can experience sexual attraction for your partner without necessarily wanting to be touched back. I think those can overlap. I've certainly known asexual people that are uncomfortable with like receiving physical touch, like even just like hugs or like kisses on the cheek. They don't like they don't like that at all. But not all these people feel that way. But you can experience sexual attraction and be very attracted to your partner sexually, which I feel like I keep saying over and over again, without necessarily wanting them to touch you back. So I would say it depends on whether or not you're experiencing sexual attraction. Like, if you're thinking about a partner, are you sexually into them or not? Or are you just performing behaviors for them because they want it, but you're not really getting anything out of it? You're not really attracted to them in that way. You're maybe romantically into them, but not sexually. And it's more about that other connection in the relationship, not just the sex part. Basically a stone butch, but I'm a trans guy, so I prefer T-men. Okay, sure. I've also, like, yeah, yeah, I feel like they definitely overlap. There is an overlap, but I would say it's not necessarily the case that somebody who is like, they don't always have to go together. Like, I mean, there's also like, and this is not really my place to ask this, but we do have other trans folks in the chat who could maybe like suss this out more than I could. But like, there's also like dysphoria and gender things that can go into that too, that are not just like sexual orientation or like, because I feel like there's ways of conducting sexual activities, like even very strong preferences or needs for the way that a sexual activity goes. And then there's like, do you feel sexual attraction at all? And it's sort of like sexual attraction at all. Like, in order to like have these feelings about this, you have to have the sexual attraction first, you know? Yeah, but a touch aversion can be part of asexuality, but it is not always. Yeah, I'm demisexual, but I'm iffy with touch, so I get it a bit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 3-letter contractions, and yeah, they can cause problems for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not saying it's necessarily like it's a dysphoric feeling, but like maybe they're like also maybe not as much with trans men. I've certainly known like several trans women that when they start HRT, like feel like they're asexual for quite a long time because of all the changes that are going on and how much the hormones affect you. But you know, that's a whole other thing going on. A friendship network that's not just people you've dated. Cries and queer leftists. I know, right? I know. Oh God, I know the struggle. You know how difficult it is? Like, listen, okay, I am a vegan, polyamorous, kinky leftist, and you think in Portland it'd be easy pickings, right? No, not at all. I feel like every person I match with on a dating app I get super excited about always ends up being like, oh, this is my ex, or this is my ex's partner. Like, I always end up like 1 degree removed from somebody. Like, oh, we actually already know each other without knowing it. That's fun. Often, especially polyamory can be very messy. Lots of messiness happens with poly relationships. People do not always do them very well. It causes a lot of bad stuff. Aromantic does exist. I'm not aromantic, so I'm probably not the best person to ask how to know if you're aromantic or not. But I feel like there's probably great YouTube videos if you look up, how do I know if I'm aromantic? I'm sure there's somebody who's aromantic who's put together a, like, how do you know list? Because I'm not sure what that looks like, because that's not me. But good question, though. It's hard to know the difference between sexual attraction and aesthetic attraction. Yeah, and also sensual attraction, too. Like, the desire to, like, touch someone and be in their personal space and, like, be around them physically is not always about sex, but a lot of the different types of attractions get very squished down in our culture, so it can be hard to tell one from the other, for sure. Try being a vegetarian kinky person in the Deep South. Oh, no. I'm not saying that I have it. This is the problem with saying this. I feel like this is a waffles pancake moment. I'm not saying that I have it. Like, there are, like, if I was in Cambodia, I'd be much worse off. Like, if I was in a lot of different, honestly, Atlanta, a lot of vegan stuff there, a lot of kinky people, probably wouldn't be too bad. But no, really, I think I'm not even really complaining that much. It's just, like, I relate to it, like, being 1 degree removed. Like, the number of people that meet my criteria of, like, potential dating partners is seemingly like 10 people. Like, it's not really that many, but it is worse elsewhere. Yeah, if I was in like rural Mississippi, I'd be having a real tough time of it. I'd be doing online dating probably. But yeah, I get it. I wanted to try out FetLife and see what events are out there, but I've been pretty anxious about it and keep getting put off. Any suggestions? I would say if what you're doing is looking for events, you don't have to put anything in your profile. You could literally upload a picture of just like a flower and put that as your profile picture, and then pick just like a random hash for your username, and then like join a bunch of local groups and look for local events. Have nothing in your profile. Say you're aged to like 99. Don't put down a gender. Don't put down a role. Don't put down any relationships, any info, and just exclusively have an account for like looking at events. And when you don't have any friends, you don't follow anyone, you don't see any pictures. You don't have to, like, unless you're going to the front page and looking for like kinky and popular, or you're like searching for something in like images, like you are not going to necessarily see anything. You're just going to like look for events and find things that way. So you're not, like, if you don't have anything in your profile, it's going to be really hard for anyone. It's like, you know, a location, Antarctica, age 99. Like, you're not really going to have a lot of people like reaching out to talk to you that way. So yeah, you don't really have to, you could just have an account that is for passively looking at event options, and that's it. That's if you're anxious about it otherwise. Like, I think I hear a lot of people complain about like, oh, FetLife is full of fakes and FetLife is full of, you know, people advertising their OnlyFans. And I like basically never see that. Like, I have like 1,000+ friends on FetLife and I never see that at all. So I don't really know what people are talking about. I think you get the experience on FetLife that you put into it. And if you end up following a bunch of hot women because you think they're hot, like, you're gonna find people make OnlyFans content. I don't know what to tell you. I had somebody actually left a comment earlier today on my FetLife video, tell me that they've gone to 3 different parties or different people showed up with STDs. And I'm like, first of all, I've never, like, what? I'm talking about going to kink events. I've never been to a kink event that involves, like, open disclosure of everyone's STI results, first of all. Second of all, are you talking about going to an orgy? Because if so, don't you want people to know if they come in and they do, like, I don't know, if there's like a gonorrhea rapid test or something that people take before orgies? Maybe that's a thing. Isn't it good to know that they have that before the thing start? Like, it just kind of seemed like a fake story, to be honest. And like, if you're looking on FetLife for sex parties, that is not the experience I'm talking about using FetLife for. Like, I use FetLife for kink community events, not like Bob's weekend orgy number 45. Like, I don't know what that's like. I've never, like, that's not my thing. I don't know what, like, what's going on there. I've been to so many dungeons, so many events. I've heard so much drama, so much tea about so many places, and I've never heard of a story of anyone contracting an STD from a BDSM event. Like, that's not, I mean, somebody now probably will tell me they've heard of it before, but like, that's not really a thing that happens. But it. That's why people also, like, most BDSM events require barrier usage, and also, like, if you're gonna have sex, you have to, like, bring a barrier and use condoms, even if you're in an otherwise, like, fluid bonded relationship. Like, what's going on there? I don't know. Also, there's children screaming outside. The only thing I might see is maybe a bloodplay event testing for HIV. Yeah, like, I've seen, like, bloodplay stuff. There's, like, Hep. You get tested for Hep C. The other, like, bloodborne pathogens you'll get tested for. Syphilis, that's a big one. That's on the rise. Syphilis is on the rise, folks. But not, like, a random BDSM party for no reason. Listen. It's always a guy named Bob. He's always putting together the orgy. Because Bob is the one who owns a house, and he has a big pool in the backyard. That's why. Bob's got the riding lawnmower and the pool, and he is hosting the orgy on the back of the riding lawnmower, you know? Okay, I'm gonna get to one more question here. Talked about solo poly. Good questions, y'all. Thank you. I don't know about anything specifically just on demisexuality. I'm sure if there's not one already published, there is a book in the works somewhere by someone. Okay, well, I lost where I was in the chat. Are there any stats on how common each structure of polyamory is? Was surprising you said triads are common or moment. Oh, no. I'm not saying, to be clear, I don't think triads are common. I'm talking about which is the most popular in terms of what people desire to have. I think triads are the most popular in terms of what's desirable. I think what most people end up having is some flavor of polyamory or some flavor of solo polyamory, and or some combination of, like, a dating couple that casually dates other people, but maybe doesn't have any other, like, serious relationships, like other partners on a similar level. I don't think I've ever seen, like what kind of polyamory do you practice, like, as a thing, maybe on a survey once, but not just, like, relationship style was most popular. I think what I've seen is usually polyamory is, like, people that are dating two people at once. Like, it's not really that wild, to be honest. It's not really that wildly different, but it's usually like, I'm dating a person, and I'm dating someone else, and they're also dating someone else, but we're not all dating each other. Like, it's closed dynamics of, like, mutual interconnected dating are less common than, like, V dynamics or Ws or that kind of thing. Wanted to ask if you personally felt confused about your interest at the start of your kink journey. Feels like I have interest, but they have no depth. No, I don't get that asked all the time. Don't worry about it. I wouldn't say I was confused. I feel like, if anything, my reaction was like, that makes sense. Like, I feel like it was like, that makes sense. Like, okay, I'm into that, I guess. There was, like, initially, I would say, I did have some confusion at the very, very beginning. I would say even before I started doing kink, where because things were very, like, gender divided online, I assumed because I was a girl that I was going to be into kitten play. But I was actually into puppy play, and at the time there were not, like, there weren't any people that were, like, public figures on the internet who were, like, openly into puppy play and were also identifying as women. Now that's changed, and you can, like, look on FetLife and look in places and find women who are puppies, and, like, it's not even that uncommon. But at the time I was like, well, I don't really actually relate to a cat. I don't really know if I'm very cat-like, but, like, I'll maybe think about it and try it. And I did. I gave it the old try, and then I discovered that other kinds of pet play were a thing, and that actually didn't really matter what gender I was, and I kind of just, like, forged my own path on that one. But that, I think, was probably the thing that was confusing, was, like, understanding that I did not have to do kinks that were just based on, you know, my gender, and I could branch out, that it wasn't that set in stone that, like, women do this, men do this, you know. It was not that strict, and other than that, I feel like it's mostly been like, well, okay. He's just been very like, that's the thing I'm into, which I'm glad. I think if I had, oh, my voice is starting to go. Okay, apparently 2 hours is the limit. Okay, the hoarseness is returning. Okay, I always wonder if polyamorous couples practice safe sex. Do they? I'm a product of the 90s, so multiple partners always seems risky. Oh yeah, polyamorous people, I mean, it depends on the people, right? Polyamorous people are like the most safe sex oriented people I've ever met in my life. Like, when I was still dating monogamously, if you asked someone if they had STI testing at all, it was insulting. I think that's still very much the case, like, for hookups, for casual partners, for dates. Like, it's seen as weird or insulting or assumptive to ask a partner for STI results, or to, like, use a condom once you know that the other person, like, is on birth control, and they promise that they're clean and have never had, like, they don't sleep around, so they're not like that. Whereas in polyamory, like, the default, at least in, and I've been polyamorous for like almost 8 years now, so I feel fairly confident saying this, knowing very many people who are poly. Do you get people that don't properly disclose things? Yes. But on average, for the most part, what I have seen is people are like, sharing STI tests before you have sex with somebody at all is the default. And even with that, outside of maybe one partner you're fluid bonded to, most people use condoms with all of their partners. Like, that's just the default assumption, is like, at least for penetration, for anal and vaginal sex, barriers are used, less so with oral, at least in like straight dynamics. I don't know with like a lesbian polycule if like dental dams are common at all, but like in the straight community, no one uses dental dams. So I don't know what other folks are up to, if that's different for other folks. But usually like condom use is very typical. STI testing is very typical. Like, that's like, I would say, the routine conversation when you're getting to the point of dating someone that you're like, oh, we might end up having sex, is you say, hey, I think I'd be interested in like having sex soon, maybe on our next date. You know, what is your protocol with that with other partners? Do you have any rules about things? You know, here's my STI testing. I got it done, you know, this many months ago. I haven't had any new partners since then. You know, are you fluid bonded to anyone? I'm fluid bonded to so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. Like, you have a fairly detailed, but maybe not necessarily super extensive or long conversation about it. Like, my more recent experience has been kind of, you like share STI results, you have condoms, and then if some later point you decide you want to be fluid bonded with that person because maybe you've been together for a long time, or you're not really seeing anyone else outside of each other, maybe you decide to talk about being fluid bonded. But yeah, it's safer sex, because it's not even just the safe sex, honestly. It's also like the fucking nightmare it would be to have like an accidental pregnancy in a poly scenario. Like, you have not seen drama until you have seen an accidental pregnancy in a polycule. It's like bad. like reality television has absolutely fucking nothing on like fucking dude who's like, oh yeah, I have my like secondary partner, and like we like stopped using condoms, and like you know we use the rhythm method and it'll be fine, and then like baby happens. Don't use the rhythm method, it doesn't work. That's my advice. Oh my goodness. That was 100% the case. Asking someone about an STI gets a weird reaction, but it's like, dude, come on. Yeah, like, literally, like, I mean, also, this is even true. Like, I know the queer community is at least very proactive about asking about HIV and, like, testing for that, but the straight community is, like, I feel like everyone just kind of wings it. I feel like everyone, the mono community is just, like, thinking, well, my partner is good and they seem like a good person, so they can't have an STI. Like, I literally feel like that's the vibe. People are just like, well, they don't seem like the kind of person who would have an STI, and I don't want to insult them by asking them to get a test they can get for basically free at Planned Parenthood, but I'm gonna think and hope that they're safe, and then they end up not being. My God. Like, like, it's a thing. Fluid bonded, I just learned a new term. Yes, fluid bonded is when you are literally swapping fluids with somebody without a barrier in between. It's kind of like gross when you explain it like that, but that's what it is. But yeah, people, you get occasionally people who are like, they throw caution to the wind, and they're like, well, nothing's happened before, so what? Yeah. Or like people that have like, I don't know. There are people who do things that are higher risk, like they like, especially if I feel like older people, like people that are like older 30s, early 40s that I know that are polyamorous, they tend to be a little bit more risk-taking with their behavior. Like, oh, well, like I have multiple casual sexual partners and like I'm on birth control, but I don't really use like condoms that often with anyone. And like they kind of just like use their own testing if they get it done like once a year is like, oh, well, you know, I'll know if I have something and I'll deal with it if it comes up. Like they're not really worried about it. And then you have to be like super strict with them. I don't date people like that, but I have known people in the past that have like been willing to have a partner who is very high risk themselves with their activity if they are very strict in their relationship with that person, right? They're very like, they always use condoms, they get tested regularly with them, like, you know, they're very up to date with it. Just like use something. Oh my god. My person that I've dated for 3 dates seems like they're clean. It's all good. Literally, exactly. Thank you for the stream for making our Friday better. You are so welcome. I'm not sexually active right now. I just got a test. I don't really got the big deal, honestly. Just a good thing health-wise. People have, I mean, there was a long time where there's a lot of judgment around getting STI testing, and like it was only for people who thought they had something, and like, why do you have a reason to think you have something? Are you doing something bad? Like there's the sexual shame and stigma around it. Like, honestly, if I wanted to throw a real firebomb into the works right now on Twitter, I would poll Gen Z what their thoughts are about STI testing. Because like, I'm not convinced it'd be positive. I don't think they'd have positive thoughts. But anyways, my voice is starting to go. Thank you for the last question that resurrected me. But get your STI testing. If you haven't had one done recently, take this as a sign. Go get tested. You can get online kits very easily if you don't have access to one in person. Planned Parenthood is a great place to get testing from. Syphilis is on the rise. Chlamydia and gonorrhea, always a good idea to test for those. A lot of silent infections with especially chlamydia and gonorrhea. I've not had experiences like actually having an STI, but I will tell you, my experience going to Planned Parenthood, like by default, if you're in there for treatment for something, they just test you for chlamydia and gonorrhea every time. It's not that big a deal. You go pee in a cup. Some of them you have to have a blood draw for, but like, you know, at least get the ones that are like swabs and you know, like peeing in a cup and stuff. You know, just get something. Get a baseline. That's my advice. Get a baseline. Get it done. It's not that scary. It's not the end of the world. And if you do have something, it's better to know about it and get it treated. Because especially if you are somebody that has internal genitalia, you do really, really not want to have a missed chlamydia or gonorrhea diagnosis and have a silent infection, because those can be very dangerous. You can get pelvic inflammatory disease, which I have had experience with, not because of that, but for other reasons. You can very easily end up with long-term ramifications from missed silent infections. And going septic one day, randomly, because of a missed infection, is not fun. So, get tested. The rhythm method is, my son is 26. Yep. That's what ends up happening. Yep. Not always. There's like one person I know, and I suspect it worked for them because they are autistic, and they had an autistic focus around the rhythm method. But I did know someone who very successfully used the rhythm method exclusively for like 10 years before they got into perimenopause, and it worked. But that's also because they were like extremely diligent about it, and also because the doctor would not give them a salpingectomy. Yeah, pro STI testing. Well, some people do have a phobia around blood, so I want to be respectful of that. Like, I'm not going to force anyone. Listen, that's between, just close your eyes, look away. You don't have to look at the blood bleeding. Honestly, it's not even that much. It's not really a big deal. Pro STI testing, yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. Regular testing is good. Anyways, thank you all so much for being here on this Friday evening. I appreciate it. Thank you all so much for stopping by. And that's going to be it for now. I will see you all later. There was a video that came out earlier today, if you haven't watched it, about a New York Times article on sexless marriages that I had a lot of strong feelings about, and there's many more videos to come. I'm gonna go. You can see my brown hair is poking through. I gotta dye my roots, so I'm gonna dye my hair. Thank you all so much, though. I'll talk to you later. All right.